Hello, everybody, and welcome to Pretty Good Gaming Podcast, episode number 78. I am your host, Mr. Gareth Evans, and today I am joined by two very, very special guests. We have Mr. James Wright over there on the far end.
Hello, everyone.
How are you doing, James?
Hello, you all right?
And we have Lucy Ann Jones.
That's me. Hello.
That is you. Former interns here at PGG, making your return. So it's very exciting to have you guys here. Obviously, there's been a lot of changes PGG recently. Some of you guys have seen and heard what's gone on behind the scenes, but these guys have stepped up and they're taking the reins and to fill the gap left by the former members. Obviously, we are going to talk a lot about you guys today. I hope that's okay.
Yeah.
But
I think we can handle that.
Yeah.
Sure, we can handle that, right? Yeah. So, talk to us about firstly what you're doing with yourselves now. Like since we last saw you, because you were in podcasts before. So, who wants to go first?
Shall I go? Oh,
yes.
I'll go. So since I've finished and turning here for a bit, I went to go and do a little bit more freelance work, mainly in game writing and focusing on writing dialogue and side quests. And I'm actually a contracted writer on the sort of slice of life RPG game My Time at Portia at the moment.
That is very exciting. Congratulations,
thank
Lucy.
you so much. It's a lot of fun.
How long have you been doing that?
Since about when did I finish here?
It was like December last year or something like that.
Yeah, so it would have been sort of early-ish this year, maybe March. So I've been doing it for a while, and I'm contracted to do it for a little bit longer. The game's still in beta at the moment.
Yeah.
So you can play it.
It's in early access.
Early
right?
access, yeah. So you can play it, but obviously you might find some characters that say more than others, and you might find, some quests that
your characters obviously say a lot.
Obviously. Totally. They do. They're all finished.
They're
all of them. Yeah. Totally finished.
They were finished before the game started.
Yeah. So that's how good I am.
So out of everyone that has kind of appeared on PGG, you're the only one we can say that has actually worked on the game. So that is some sort of honour to behold. Well done.
Thank you. I'm hoping it will not be the last.
Well, there you go. You start somewhere. Start with My Time at Portia. You never know. You'll be working on the next Fallout game.
I'll be in your next video criticising how bad the writing is in the next game.
Yeah, cool. That's awesome.
In one of the next clickbaity titles.
We don't do clickbait here. I don't know what you're talking about.
No.
Clickbait? What are you talking
about? So James, you are producer at What the Nerd Heard, right?
Yes.
Tell us about what you do at What the Nerd Heard.
Well, we write about all kinds of nerdy news and geeky gossip. So superhero movies is our main port of call, but I also like to do gaming reviews, which is something we've dabbled in here at BGG, which is nice.
Yeah.
So I get to marry the two loves of my life together. That's quite nice.
It's mainly a website, right?
Yes. There has been a radio show to go along with that, which if you head on over to whatthenerdheard.com, you can find out all about that, because that's not the time or place to describe it here, is it?
Is that a weekly thing that you host yourself?
Yes.
Right.
Yes,
that's awesome. For some extra listening pleasure for the viewers or the listeners' ears. Whatthenerdheard.com. You can check James out. That's not cool.
Please do.
There you go. So there's the introductions out of the way. So at least I know who I'm dealing with now. And I did break the news to the patrons in the week that you guys will be returning, and I've kindly offered some questions for you guys specifically, so we can get break the ice, get to know you a little bit better.
Lovely.
So let's start with that then. So Jay Jackson provided the first one. And he says, my question for the week's podcast would be for the PGG members to introduce themselves with their favourite game of all time, favourite developer, and something interesting about themselves as an icebreaker. So, no pressure.
Nice and easy.
An easy
Simple.
Opener.
Great.
Whoa. So, who wants to take it first? Who wants to offer up their favourite game, favourite developer, and something interesting? It has to be interesting, not just a random fact.
Said my interesting thing. Oh my god.
That What the Nerd Heard is literally the most interesting thing about me.
We started strong and it's going down.
I know what I'll do. Right, I'll take it first.
You sound confident.
Well, let's do it. Right, so favourite game. It's a big commitment, this, isn't it? Because it means you have to forget about everything else that's ever come out.
Yeah, it's hard, very hard.
So, game I've played completion most in my time, which by my definition would be, equatable to, oh, this is my favourite game because I've done this much on it. Sonic Adventure 2. It's got to be the second one. I had it on the Dreamcast back in the day. Dreamcast all the way. The Nintendo GameCube, the Xbox 360, and most recently my Xbox One when it finally came available on backwards compatibility, and I downloaded that like that. It's good. That's favourite game. Favourite developer, I've written a note. You'll notice
You
notice the differences between our notes. One's a notebook, mine's a scraggy piece of paper.
A tear of paper.
A tear of paper, but that's I know.
That's the passion.
I know what I'm going to do. I know what I'm going to write. Right, I've got two. Future Games of London, who are most well known for doing Hungry Shark Evolution, Hungry Shark World, which recently came out on consoles. I highly recommend both, by the way. And the mobile game Hungry Dragons, which came out today, I believe, on mobile. Basically, you play as either a shark or a dragon. You eat everything in sight and grow and grow.
That does sound exciting.
It is exciting.
Very exciting.
And the other one would be Vector Unit, because aside from Sonic and wrestling, I quite like racing games. So Vector Unit. Those two get my vote. Check them out.
Cool. Before we move on, you mentioned the Dreamcast, right? Did you ever play Shenmue on the Dreamcast?
Yes. However, because this was... Obviously, I'm slightly younger than you. Only slightly younger than you.
So right, I feel really young right in the middle here.
What are you, 12, Lucy?
Yep.
Like
12 today.
So
Happy birthday, Lucy.
Thank you.
There's balloons and everything here.
Thank you so much.
It's true.
We're playing Pass the Parcel after the camera shuts off.
My memory of Shenmue is not as good because, unfortunately, I've never upgraded it to, anything after the Dreamcast. So, yeah. But
you didn't,
from what I remember, it was excellent.
Yeah, from my experiences with the Dreamcast, I bought my Dreamcast just to play Shenmue. And they've remastered number 1 and 2 now, and number 3 is due out soon. That's one of the ones I need to kind of pick up and play.
I think because, in my humble opinion, Dreamcast is the greatest games console that was ever made. Fight me on that. Lucy.
I'm not going to fight.
I won't fight you. I will just offer my nugget of information, which is my Dreamcast always cut out on me. Right? I think it overheated or something. It must have been.
That's never been reported at all.
It was one in the middle of a game. I was like moving some pallets or something on Shenmue. Like the boring side.
I think it may have been one of them dodgy sites you bought it off, mate. That's probably all that wasn't.
That's probably what it was.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
So that's you covered with a failed developer and game of all time. Something interesting was what I heard. We'll go with what.
No, because I've got another one. I have a massive collection of nice T-shirts, and whenever I go out shopping, say in a supermarket or just a general corner shop, and there's a kid there who's like, "Mummy, look at his shirt," because 9 times out of 10 it'll have Pokemon on it or something niche like that, and yes, I know.
Where do you get T-shirts from?
Usually Redbubble or tfury.com. There are others.
Are you a QWERTY man?
Oh, sometimes. It's got to have a nice design.
You got to get lucky with QWERTY.
Yeah. Yes. I haven't bought any in a while. So, if anyone can suggest some nice T-shirts that I should buy for myself, I'll do that.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Redbubble. That's where I get all my shirts for the show, really. It's just got such a diverse collection of from various different artists as well. So
I do feel like every time I come home, I have to wear a cool shirt. So I decided today I have a couple of video game shirts. Yeah. How about I wear my one and only tabletop game shirt that I own?
What is that?
Why would I wear a video game one when I can wear one with a D20 on it?
Oh.
Yeah. I was like, I'm going to go talk about video games. Why don't I wear something that isn't video game related?
I'm sure many of the listeners will.
It's new, so I wanted to show it off.
Okay, it's your turn now, Lucy. So we're going to go with favourite game, favourite developer, and something interesting about yourself.
Wonderful. Okay, I'm having a long think about this because this is the hardest question ever, what your favourite game is.
It is, it's true.
I was going to try and cheese it and go for a game series.
Boo.
But I got booed.
James booed you.
James booed me.
It's a cop-out.
It is a bit of a cop-out.
It's bad.
I was going to say the Ace Attorney series, because I have a lot of good memories playing those games. But that's a series, and I can't pick a game.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to have to go probably with Psychonauts, because I have great memories playing it when I was little. I have great memories playing it like as an adult. There was just like so much more to it. And I think I just never have had so much story come from like such a platformer. Like there's loads of collecting and platforming and puzzles, but there's also a lot of stories and character development, and just graphically, and like obviously the graphics aren't crisp because it's quite an old game at this point. But the whole sort of vibe and charm of it's set in a campground, and you just gate crash this camp because you want to become a psychodat, which is people who have powers with their minds, and you gate crash it to be like, I can do it, like I've run away from home, I can be part of this. And I think whenever I feel sort of low or sad, or I feel kind of a lot of bad gaming news comes out, and you just kind of feel like, why video games?
Yeah.
Why? I'll just boot up Psychonauts, and it'll just sort of remind me of the charm and the
simpler times.
Yeah, the simpler times, and like what games can be, that they can just be simple and fun and wholesome, and just walking around like the campsite just kind of brings back all those sort of cozy feelings of like, oh, this is really nice actually.
How old is Psychonauts now?
I'm not sure. It was so we had a little Google beforehand, and it was Double Fine's one of Double Fine's first games after all their point and click ones, after Day of the Tentacle, and after
I want to say it's 2003, which would make it 15 years old, but don't quote me on that because I'm not called Google.
Right. So your answer's locked in there now, James.
Yes.
Yeah. You just sure don't ask a friend. So there you go. That's
my game.
That's your game. Next up,
that was more of a life story.
It was a bit of a life story, wasn't it? I went a bit deep there. Sorry.
if it's your favourite game, you should have a lot to say about it.
Yeah.
Then, surely.
I think so.
It should mean a lot to you too.
Good.
So. Favourite dev? Well,
part of me wants to say Double Fine, because you have to say Double Fine every time you say Double Fine because of Brutal Legend. You have to. You just have to. Every time I said Double Fine in that last sentence, I actually wanted to say Double Fine. So maybe then, but I'm also leaning towards Fail Better, but I think they're technically a publisher but not a developer. Mm-hmm. Just because I love the way that they use words in all their games. They are just, I love
Fail Better have made which games?
So they did the browser-based Fallen London, and they did
Sunless Seas.
Sunless Seas, and
the developing Sunless Skies, right?
Yeah.
There you go. And there's also a couple of people who did work at Fail Better who have set up another publisher called Weather Factory, and they've just come out with their first game, Cultist Simulator, which is like a card game where you try and run a cult, and it's really good. It's it's taken the card game and put a twist on it, and also put story into it so neatly. It doesn't feel forced. It feels like the story is complemented by the card mechanics, and the card mechanics are then complemented by the story. I don't know how they've done it. It's pretty good. I love my story games, and Fail Better just have such a great way of using words. All of their writers are just goals. There you go. Life goals for Lucy.
Life goals.
And something interesting about yourself.
Yeah.
And you're working on a game which is like the best.
It's pretty good.
That's the interesting thing.
I'm also part of a theatre company.
You're part of a theatre company. What part?
I am the manager and an actor as well.
Actor. I think you have to say actor.
An actor.
A thespian.
A thespian.
Okay.
And we just had a play in the Manchester Fringe this year, and we were nominated for Best Newcomer. So there you go. Thank you very much.
Well done.
Thank you.
Well done.
Bravo. Thank you.
My kids are interacting. They do Stagecoach, and they're very obviously very early in their careers, but they've had experience on stage and things like that, I guess. Did you ever do Stagecoach or anything like that as a youth?
I did. I did a lot of I did everything I could really grab when I was younger, all the after school stuff. Some of the stuff that I just can't afford to do. But so we didn't really do that. But I did everything I could. I would just write plays in my spare time and just put them on in the living room, and then bloody went to uni for it and then set up a company. So like, still going.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Take that, mum.
Take that, mum. I'll do what I like.
Do what I want.
Well, thanks for that, guys. That was definitely an icebreaker. So people, I feel like we know you a little bit more now. We've warmed to you a little bit more now. Everyone knows who we're dealing with, what kind of people that you are. So let's move on. Tabitha Hoxie asks, I'm so excited to have the interns back. I have a couple of questions for Lucy. Firstly, how have you felt about the changes in Overwatch since you were here last? You're a big fan of Overwatch, and you've played
I am a big fan of Overwatch.
Still playing a lot?
Yeah, I am. Yeah, it's just a great stress reliever after work. Just going home and like it's a good way to, because it's tough being an adult and meeting up with all your friends. So instead, we all just kind of go home and then it'll be weird. We say goodbye to each other at work and then we go home and then we all shoot each other online. Well, I mean, what better way to really
to bond with your friends
than
to shoot them in the face?
Yeah, that's.
Yeah. I think as for like changes, since I was last here, so when I was last here, they were doing like a bit of an overhaul to their report system on Overwatch.
That's right, yeah. Cleaning up the community and such.
Yeah, Jeff Kaplan had just released a video, just saying, sorry that. It's so toxic at the moment. We're trying to clean it all up. Since then, they have released an endorsements system, which is great. I really, really like it. Yeah. Essentially, next to your like player tag, you have like a number and a ring made up of 3 different colours, and each colour corresponds to something that someone can vote you as. So you can either be a shot caller, which means you were really good in the game at like directing people in one way and getting the team together. There's like sportsmanship, which the other team can vote you and basically say, you were really good to play against. Like, you didn't like teabag or spray my corpse. Like, thanks. That's really good. You got play of the game, but like you didn't like be a dick about it. Yeah. That's really good. And I think the last one was just like good teammate. Which obviously your teammates can give you. It just means that you are good to play with, that you work together well, and at the end of each match, you have a certain number of votes that you can give between your own team and the opposing team, and you can choose who you want and what kind of vote you give them. And then next to your sort of player tag, it'll give you a rank based on how many endorsements, so you can level up your endorsement level. You get rewarded, you get loot boxes if you reach a certain endorsement level, and it'll also show people just how many, let's say if you've got loads of shot callers, it might be like your little ring really might be totally orange or something. I
like the sound of that. It's really cool, like a reputation system. So you go into a game, and does that mean that you can filter out people with lower rep? You can play against people with like who are really great in the community.
If you wanted to, like if you just go into quick play, none of that filtering will really matter. Yeah. But you can. They've also set up at the same time. You can basically look for a game instead of just being thrown into the matchmaking system, just into the wild. Yeah. You can look for a game and you can be like, oh, I only want people who have endorsement level 2 or more. Yeah. Say if you just had like 5 games in a row where you've just been arguing with people over voice chat, you might be like, this is awful. I'm just going to go look for some good people now. Yeah,
that's really nice. That because Overwatch is one of the games that has been criticised for its toxic communities in the past. This is something solid that the changes that they've put in place, and it does sound like it could work really well.
I think
and
so.
In your experience, obviously, it works good, right?
Yeah, I mean, people, people do pander to it sometimes because obviously they want to level up, and you do.
Don't tell me they're being fake nice. That fake nice.
Fake nice. But like people will call them out for it. I don't care if someone's being fake nice. Like
exactly.
If I start a game and like someone posts on the chat being like, good luck everyone, I hope we absolutely smash it, and then someone goes and text chat and goes like, oh, you're just fishing for endorsements. Like, I don't care if he is. He's being
a nice person.
I'll be nice back to him, and then eventually all that fake niceness will eventually be real niceness.
Yeah, exactly.
You'll start a game being like, hey, yeah, let's win, and then someone will reply and go, yeah, we will win, and you're like, oh, I guess we will. And then everyone just feels good. So people like to get angry about anything.
Yeah, there was like a bit of a ruckus, I should say, about people claiming other people being fake nice and like, oh, you're only being fake nice for. Oh man, just relax. There's no difference between fake and real nice. It's just nice.
Being nice. Like,
that's all it is.
It doesn't matter if you're being nice just because you want another level in your endorsements. Like, whatever, man. Sure, why not? Be proud that you're, level 5 nice.
So all in all, then the changes in Overwatch are in the right direction. Any criticisms or any sort of irritants that?
I mean, it's not perfect. You'll always just get people that sort of game the system. They do things that they can't technically be reported for, but do grief other people. Like, you can't report say if you've got like a healer character, you can't report them for not healing your team because you can't report someone for not doing that. There's like a healer character who has a big, sort of healing staff, and she also has a gun. And a lot of times someone might just play that character and equip the gun and nothing else and just not heal. And people will get angry about that. Yeah. And it does get quite annoying, but you can't report them for it. So it just builds this anger in the game.
Can you imagine like a 6 or 8-year-old playing the game and not knowing what the hell they're supposed to do and just being innocent about it all?
Absolutely.
Maybe that happens, right?
I always like to give them the benefit of the doubt. Like, maybe they are just like, either there's someone new or there's someone new that's playing on someone's experienced account. Like, you just never know. But it will still just make people angry.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I mean, you're only the sum of your parts as a team, and if one isn't pulling their weight, especially if they're a healer, like you need that.
Yeah. But otherwise, I think it's heading in the right direction. It's a lot. The forecast for it's a lot better than I think when I last interned here. I think people didn't think that Overwatch had a very long lifespan because of the way that the community was going, but it's definitely going in the good direction.
Good on you, Jeff Kaplan, for making those changes stick, that's for sure. Mm-hmm. Do you still play Pocket Camp? This is Tabitha's second follow-up question.
They're calling me out.
or did the loot boxes, fortune cookies, drive you away?
Does anyone actually still play Pocket Camper?
I think, obviously,
I've still got it on my phone. I've not opened it.
I've still got it on my phone.
People are soured. Everything I hear about it is that these effing microtransactions in Pocket Camp. So tell us about that, Lucy.
I was such a campaigner that Pocket Camp was going to be okay.
Yeah, I remember.
That was out.
You're a campaigner, right? A campaigner. That's why we're here. How did you miss that? But
sorry, I feel like I've missed.
It's all right. I caught it for you, Lucy. I caught it for you.
I don't play it as often as I did because it is just getting to that point.
Just grindy.
Well, that's the thing. Like, it's not even just the loot boxes. There's lots of like events on it that are just like you have to log in, not even like once a day, but multiple times a day to participate in a seasonal event to get seasonal items. And obviously, you can speed this up if you give us money. Yeah. But it maybe just kind of made me open up Animal Crossing on my DS and play that instead. Because that's a full game.
That's the proper game. Yeah.
That's every time I open up Pocket Camp, I'm like, man, I sure wish I was playing Animal Crossing New Leaf. And then I go and play Animal Crossing New Leaf instead. So there you go. I guess not an endorsement of Pocket Camp the same way that you've endorsed Overwatch, I guess. So breaks my heart.
There you go, Tabitha. They're your questions. Now, James, we've been leaving you out a little bit. I was going to go to another Lucy question here, but we'll go to a James question now. Okay. So a lot of questions come in from Beach Horn on the Patreon. So thanks very much, Beach. Obviously, you've been paying attention to the previous your guys' previous appearances, and you've asked very specific questions, so good on you. So James, did you ever get to play Pod Racer in the arcade?
Do you know what? I actually never did, because either my mum and dad, bless them, were so strict and wouldn't allow me to go to an arcade, therefore I never had the pleasure of experiencing arcade games, which let me know if I missed out completely there, please.
You did, totally, man.
Or just, I was never really that socially outgoing. I'm quite a isolated, stay-at-home person.
I think a lot of people who might be listening are the same. Yeah. Like, it's the kind of people who play games, isn't it?
Do you know, I kind of wish I did. Like, until that question was posed to me, I was like, never ever would have thought about it. But having had that question directed to me, I was like, oh, was that an option in my life?
Yeah. Maybe I've missed out. You just broken Lucy's heart.
I have. Thank you, Lucy. Thank you. But yeah, I wish I had that option. You know, it's one of those things where you wish, if you had the knowledge that you've got now, go back in time and just experience that.
Yeah,
that'd be nice. Don't cry, Lucy. Don't cry.
Just
move on quick,
just
Gaz.
before
Move
Lucy
on.
cries. I'm going to throw in a confession.
Yeah, or Animal Crossing.
Since we're talking about the arcade, and
Yes.
we did distraction, I need to confess something, guys. Right, when I was a kid, we come from a single parent family. My mum looked after me and my brother, right? And she used to work nights, just long shifts, and a lot of the time she was just like working or like sleeping or whatever. One time we lived up by the arcades in Rill, right? One time my brother and I stole money from my mother's purse to play in the arcades to keep ourselves entertained. I'm not saying that's any reason why. It's so bad what we did. We stole money, right? But that's what we did. But we had a fucking good time in the arcade. We had a brilliant time. I think we finished Golden Axe, Afterburner, man. I think we nailed Afterburner. It was a horrible thing to do, but it was fucking great.
Guilt-free pleasures, courtesy of Gareth.
The first confession of today. We obviously expecting another confession at some point with Dead Card Redemption. But there's my confession. So we move on to a Lucy question.
Hang on, before that,
sorry.
Can we forgive him for that? Can we?
I don't know.
Between us all, can we forgive Gaz for doing that?
Maybe leave it in the comments of this. I did have it was my older brother, so I was kind of...
You were under his
coerced.
influence. Okay, so we'll flip that. Can we forgive your brother?
Can we forgive my brother for being a bad influence on me? I had a fucking good time. Lucy.
Yeah.
Did you ever get into computer? How did you? Sorry. Of course you got into...
I never played a game in my life.
I should maybe read the words before I start talking. How did you get into computer games? What was your first platform and game type?
I had to search the memory banks for this one because I can't remember. I think it's probably PC. It was probably a big clunky PC that made a lot of noise and had dial-up. That was probably the first thing I ever played a game on, and I have a feeling I used to visit family a lot because just in Wales everyone lives really close to each other and we all know each other and we're all related. So I would go to my my cousin's house quite a lot, and I would be quite introverted when I was younger. I know, can't imagine it. I was quite introverted when I was younger, and I think they got to a point where they were just like, okay, Lucy's not saying anything. She's just being quiet in the corner. Let's try and find her something to do. And there's this really old, clunky PC in their attic. So they would send me up there. And on there was this Sabrina the Teenage Witch point and click game, which I actually a couple of years ago tried to refound and downloaded it on an emulator on my PC just to be to relive the memories. But it was great. It had an inventory. You collected spell ingredients and then made potions that would get you through certain obstacles. But potions would only last for a certain amount of time. It was great. It was a decent point and click game. Had Sabrina on it, so I knew what I was going into. Yeah. And that just sort of kind of set me off really. From then on, I loved hoarding just PC discs, big bloody boxes of PC discs. Whenever I'd go into game shops or even charity shops, I'd pick up old ones and try them all. I'd always go for Monkey Island. A lot of LucasArts games is what I'd go for.
Oh yeah.
My dad once came home, he'd mentioned to his workmate that I'd gotten into these games, and one of his work friends just gave him a bunch of his old LucasArts games. So my dad came home and gave them to me, and I was like, yes, I'll play through all of Monkey Island. So it was about this PC. I eventually got a Game Boy and then a Game Boy Advance, and then moved on to sort of PlayStation 2 and through the consoles. I think the first sort of major multiplayer game I played was this online it's not an RPG, it's an online multiplayer game. It was called Virtual Magic Kingdom, and it was made by Disney. And you basically would create your character, you would dress them up and how you like, and you basically walk around an adventure-themed world which was inspired by the Disney parks, and you'd go on mini games and earn items, and you'd be able to have your own house and world that you could design with furniture. And me and my friends after school would all meet up online. And that sort of introduced me into sort of online gaming. Then I went and played, Team Fortress 2 when I was a bit older. And obviously I still play Overwatch now. So I think it all stemmed from being just a little bit quiet and a little bit awkward at my family's house. And so they sent me off to play on the computer and realised that that's where I felt most comfortable.
Well, I mean, that's it. I mean, gaming can be a coping mechanism for a lot of things in your life. I mean, as well as music for myself personally. But yeah, that is an interesting story.
That was an amazing life story. That's all we're getting from you today.
That's all you're getting from me, yeah?
Yeah, you're knocking them out today, Lucy. Knocking them out. So we are going to go for a short break. We will be right back, after which we're going to ask more questions to the newbies here today. And also, we're going to go Fact of the Week and Dead Cred Redemption. So don't go away. Be right back. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the second part of the podcast from a Pretty Good Gaming Podcast today. I'm joined, for those of you who don't remember the names, James Wright, Lucy Ann Jones.
Hello.
Who are helping me out doing writing and stuff, man. They've been mentioned that before, but you guys are helping me out doing the researching and writing on the videos now, which is, I'm sure everybody who's listening is grateful for, because I couldn't do it on my own. Honestly, I couldn't do it on my own. The fact that you guys have stepped up to the plate is absolutely amazing, so thank you for that, guys. And we are going to carry on now with Fact of the Week. So can we have the jingle, please? Okay. Theme Hospital's original release's cover art used a green cross on a white background, which Bullfrog did not have the right to use. The artwork was mistakenly approved because it was faxed in black and white and had to be recalled. Later releases changed the cross to a star. Despite its rejection, the cross version is available in more recent formats. So let's move on. Let's move on to Dead Cred Redemption. Everybody's favourite segment in the podcast. This is where we ask the community to share their confessions with us, in a view to the gaming confessions specifically. So if they need to get something off their chest from their childhood, they did something really, really rotten and they need redemption.
Not unlike Gareth and his brother.
Yeah, kind of like that. Not the same though, because I wasn't to blame in that, because I've definitely got mitigating circumstances in that scenario. However, these are completely anonymous from the viewers and the listeners. And James, you're going to take it away. You're going to read it for us this week.
Screenshotting, because that's how us millennials do things, of course. What? Right.
I've not heard this. I'm so nervous.
I'm hoping Gaz hasn't heard it either. Right. From Anonymous. I'm seeking redemption for something I'm not too proud of. During the original World of Warcraft, I was working tirelessly toward getting my epic land mount for a significant 1,000 gold. I had worked for days and days farming materials before an opportunity presented itself, and, like a true villain, I took the opportunity. A guildmate was upset how he couldn't get a girlfriend, and I decided that I would catfish him for the remaining 600 gold I needed.
Wow.
Worse yet, this gets really bad.
Oh, no.
Worse yet,
Yes.
I used an image of my sister to hook him in.
No way.
After he gave me the gold, bear in mind he was still catfishing, with a picture of his sister. After he gave me the gold, I got the mount and would make as many excuses as I could to not chat or group up with him. Shortly thereafter, the guild fell apart for unrelated reasons, and I never got the opportunity to come clean or pay them back. I want to use this opportunity to say sorry to that guildmate and sorry to my sister for using her as the mask.
That is
awful.
Awesome. I was going to say awesome. You used awful. I mean,
Awesomely awful.
it's a fine line, I feel. But that was a great story. That was a great story. Do they deserve to be redeemed? I mean, they've come clean, I guess.
Yeah.
Using your sister as a...
See, I have a sister who's married to who was one of my best friends, still quite close, so that's quite a poignant story to me.
Right.
I'd like to put out there, before anyone jumps to conclusions, I've never catfished anyone. And
This isn't
Even
your
if I
story.
had,
This isn't your story.
this isn't my story. That's not me.
You just
right?
read it out. You just read it
I just anonymous. I'm not right. Yeah. Anyway,
The
right.
lady doth protest too much, methinks.
That's true.
I've never catfished, and even if I had, I'd never use a picture of my sister. That's weird. Oh,
It is weird, yeah. That's pretty weird.
That's
Oh,
you're sexualising your sister.
you obviously think your sister's pretty fit if you're using your sister's picture.
So on that basis,
No, I'm joking.
Maybe he
That's a
thought
joke.
it was like, oh, it's almost me. It's like me,
Yeah, I
the
feel
closest you can get to me
That's
while
the-
still being a woman.
it's done out of like self-love, really, because the vanity. Like this person is the closest looking to me in the whole universe. So
Yeah.
I guess that works. But this is the point, right?
that makes it worse though if you think about that line, because that means, well, I would sell myself, but I can't. What's the next best thing? My little sister.
Oh, we didn't say little sister.
Well, no, okay.
Oh, you just added that in.
Might be adult
Worse.
sister. Let's hope it was an adult sister.
Let's
I
hope.
hate this.
And yeah, so we do have to, absolve them here. I think we do, because if we don't, James, then people aren't going to send their confessions in, are they? This is the whole.
That's
the whole
true.
point.
That is true. Okay.
We want to encourage the, the whole.
It goes against
cycle.
a greater, higher moral code, but we will.
We will
forgive
redeem you, my
this.
child.
Just please don't do it ever
You are-
again,
you are
whoever you
forgiven.
are. Please, that's
So there you go. For anyone else who has a dead cred redemption, send them via email to gaming@goliath-media.com, and we will read through them. We won't laugh. We will just read through them in all seriousness, and maybe yours will be featured in next week's podcast. So listen out for that. We do appreciate everybody who does take the time to email in with their redemptions, and don't be fake either. Don't fake it, because we know when you're lying. We know when you're lying.
if the story's too grand and too elaborate.
Everyone stood up and applauded. That's how you know a story's fake.
Okay, so let us move on to the second half of the questions. And before we do that, I just want to say, if anybody does have any questions for next week's podcast, leave them in the bottom, in the comments section of this post on Patreon, because that's where we will get the questions for next week's podcast from. And it could be about anything at all that's in the news, or any games that you're interested in, or any backstories, any stories that you want, any more stories that you want to hear from Lucy about gaming history.
Yep,
that's
any
all
more
welcome.
life stories,
Everything
yep.
is welcome.
It's all on the table, apparently.
So let us move on to the next question, which we will go with a James question. What was your favourite outrageous move from any wrestling game? Coming from Beachhorn again, who delivered all these awesome questions.
Thank you, Beachhorn. Obviously, you pay too much attention. Right.
So you are a big fan of wrestling games, right?
Oh, I'm a big fan of wrestling. Here we go. Right. So we've had Lucy's life stories. Here's James's nerdiness coming out in all of its wrestling glory. So I've been thinking about this. You might have seen my face drifting off into the distance as Lucy was going through one of her many life stories back in the first half. But
Everyone
what I was
usually
actually
does.
doing was thinking of my options for this question. Right. So the first one, I've got 3. One technically isn't even a move, but that's beside the point. We're all looking at the WWE series of core games, so the SmackDown series, the SmackDown vs. Raw series, and the 2K series, for everyone who's in the know on that one. The first one comes in from, I do believe, the SmackDown vs. Raw / early 2K series of the whole gaming franchise. It was called Death Valley Driver, I believe, number 4. It's the one where, if anyone's ever played these games, and if you're listening to me and you care, you will have, because otherwise I'm just talking to nobody who gives a... Anyway, you set them up in the turnbuckle, the corner, to anyone who doesn't know the lingo.
Thanks for that.
Yeah, it's all right. It's all right. Yeah, good, glad. Yeah, you set them up in the turnbuckle, and you're on the top turnbuckle, which is, for everyone else who doesn't know the lingo, the top ropes. Think of a boxing ring. That's what everyone else normally knows, right? Set them up, and then you hoist them onto your shoulders. So their stomach, is on your shoulders. So in like a fireman carrier sort of pose, right? You turn around, you walk basically halfway into the middle of the ring. You lift them up and you slam them down on their head. If I demonstrate with a bottle,
Make sure that cap is on.
there, please. head, neck. You get the picture. Imagine character like that.
Yeah. For all you listeners on the iTunes, that was the sound of James slamming the lid of the ball into the table.
Yes, thank you. I forgot we were doing this audio as well. Yes. Yeah. So and that's an actual move, but just the impact that I saw in the animation looked like the character who's getting dropped on his head would have broken his bloody neck.
Oh, yeah.
Which alone is like, right, okay, that's, yeah. If you ever watch wrestling, you see the whole, don't try this at home. That's why. That is why. That's number one. Thank you. Number two comes from SmackDown Just Bring It, which was the prequel to the greatest wrestling game of all time, WWE SmackDown Here Comes the Pain. Fight me, I will take you on, No Mercy fans. I'm in my element here.
Well, you
really
actually
are. I
are.
love it.
We've lit the touch paper and off he goes.
I know.
We could have a whole series on James's wrestling comments, couldn't we? Bloody hell. Right, yeah. In Just Bring It, you had the option of going into the backstage area and then eventually into New York City's Times Square arena, as in the actual Times Square area with all the neon lights and everything. There was a helicopter flying around, and you had the option of climbing up the rope ladder into the top of the helicopter. No, not the top, that's where the propellers are. Into the cabin of the helicopter. Bear in mind, this is what? 50 feet plus in the air. And you can all see where this is going. I know Lucy can. You could, right? This was before wrestling games implemented a health system, which makes it even worse, right? You could jump from the helicopter onto an opponent. Most of the time, you'd miss. Think about that in real terms, yeah?
Right.
That'd be so funny.
Just, you miss completely, splattered out, gets back up anyway.
And carries on.
But my nan, whenever I used to play the wrestling games at my nan and granddad's house, was, kill him! Nan, I can't. I've just chucked him off a helicopter. I can't do any more than that. So, yeah. Oh, that was nightmare-inducing, Christ. And then, finally, also from the SmackDown series of games, before it became SmackDown vs. Raw, I think it may have actually wormed its way into SmackDown vs. Raw first couple of games. You used to be able to have steel chair finishers, which basically that's your finishing move with a steel chair.
I got that one.
Yeah,
Good.
We're all on the same page now.
I'm a wrestling gamer now.
Yeah, that's it. You had, I think it was as The Undertaker, which hopefully everyone at this table knows who The Undertaker is.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Even non-wrestling nerds know who that is. You had the ability to grab an opponent by the back of the head whilst still holding a steel chair. You'd position it in such a way so the chair's ridge, that part where the top of the back is, into their neck and drive down.
Just to break the neck.
Just to kill them, I imagine.
To kill them.
Bear in mind, this was The Undertaker.
Sounds like murder.
And he needs some work, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He can't...
Yeah,
He's got kids to feed.
He's got kids to feed. He needs to put
poor Mark Calloway.
bodies in the ground.
Yeah. Needless to say, with everything that's gone on in wrestling, that is no longer in any of the wrestling games.
Yeah, I can imagine.
They've narrowed it down a lot. But yeah, that's my top three.
Wow.
I'd like to.
I
hear
feel
more.
like you have more than three.
Yeah.
You were asked for one and you delivered three. I mean, I can't imagine what's in that brain of yours with all that knowledge just.
Apparently, there's a lot of
late.
latex. We'll gloss over that one imminently. Thank you.
Let's delve deeper.
Thanks for that question and the rest of them, Beachon. You've done a cracking job sparking the
newbies.
The answers here.
Yes.
It's fantastic. Let's move on to Lucy.
I like that one.
Let's talk about.
That's a good answer.
Good answer.
Answers.
You looking forward to Fallout 76, Lucy? And if not, are there any massively multiplayer online games that you like? So you like Fallout New Vegas, right?
Yep, love
it's
it.
one of your favourites of all time, from what I remember.
Yep,
right?
yep.
And we're on board for that one, right? Mm-hmm. Like we're on the same page. Fallout 76. Since Fallout is one of your favourite series, I'm guessing.
Yep.
What do you think?
I'm so conflicted. I'm so just at war with myself about it. I kind of, when it first started being announced, I wanted every scrap of information that the world had to offer about it, and then kept that out for a couple of days, and then sort of everyone was getting angry, I was just arguing between themselves, and I just went, you know what, I'm just going to wait till it's released, and then I've just accepted within myself, I'm probably going to buy it, because Fallout
Yeah.
It's got Fallout on it, so I'm going to buy it. And I'll just see what it's like when I buy it. Maybe some of my friends will buy it and we'll play together.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll play alone. But I had a couple of days of just following all the rumours and everything. It was just exhausting and it wasn't giving anyone the full picture. Everyone was just making up this imaginary perfect game in their head. And whenever a tiny bit of information came out that didn't fit with what they had in their head, they would get super angry. So I just think, I'm not super hyped. I'm not counting down the days, but when it comes out, I'm probably going to buy it, probably going to play it, and I hope I like it. From what I've seen of the perk system, looks quite interesting.
The card system,
yeah, they're adding a few. That looks really interesting. That's all I've really looked at. I think I'm just exhausted about rumours and
exactly. I mean,
speculation.
let's not get angry about a game before we know much about it, really, because all we can go on at this point is what Pete Hines and forget the head honcho's name now from Bethesda. What's
I'm no good with names.
Oh man, guys, I'm
cheese.
so sorry. Yeah, I'm so sorry.
The only one I can think of is Peter Molyneux, and I know that's wrong.
That's pretty wrong.
He's always wrong.
That's pretty wrong. All we've got to go on it are what they're saying about the game. We've not seen it, and there's a beta coming soon, right? But that's only for people who have pre-ordered, so that won't be us, I'm guessing. So we just have to wait and see what it's gonna be like, because it's completely new ground for a Fallout game. It's completely new. VATS like that, how is that going to work in real time? How it's going to obviously they're putting a lot of effort, from what I've seen and the research that we've done and the coverage that we've had here, is that they're putting a lot of effort into balance it out so that you can't be griefed, so that people don't get too much from killing other people. And basically, if you murder somebody who doesn't want to be griefed, doesn't want to be PvP'd or whatever, then you become a wanted murderer, and you get that symbol on the map, and everybody on the map can see you. You can't see anybody, and then you can hunt them down, kill them for a reward that comes out of their own caps. Well, that sounds pretty cool.
That's a good way to deal with that sort of stuff.
Yeah, they've been quite inventive with these.
Makes sense, like in the world as well. Like it just doesn't sound like it's been forced in. It's like you are just a murderer.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So I mean, I've got a lot of hope for Fallout 76. Is it the kind of game that you'd play, James?
I'm very against online multiplayer games, mainly because I'm such a loner. But the option to have it completely solo play, if you so want. Alone is like, because when I first heard the news, I was like, oh well, this is going to be rubbish because it's just going to be multiplayer and online. And then they released the news, oh no, that's half of the game if you wanted to do it that way, but you can also play it solo. But then like everything else that's come out about the multiplayer side of it, I'm like, do you know what, I might give it a go. I've come around to first person game, so anything can happen in this world.
There you go. That's what we think about Fallout 76. Let's move on to another James question. Okay, James, you ready for this?
Oh yeah.
Have you ever tried to collect all the clams and horseshoes in GTA San Andreas while only having unlocked the first island?
Ooh.
If not, what's your favourite self-imposed challenge for that title? Are you a big fan of GTA San Andreas?
Oh, it's my second favourite game of all time.
There you go.
Yeah, so
you are. You definitely are.
Oh no, yeah,
confirmed.
Do you do a lot of like self-imposed challenges that aren't normally in games and stuff?
Does saying I will come off of this game by midnight count as a self-imposed?
Yes, definitely.
In that case, yes, I do. Quite routinely, actually. But getting back to the question, did I ever
collect all the clams and horseshoes in GTA San Andreas while only having unlocked the first island?
So when San Andreas first came out, it was 2004, the glory days of the PlayStation 2, I remember fondly. No, not when it first came out. I do believe, because I've replayed this game maybe 3 times per console that I've had it on, so that's at least 9 times. I do believe it didn't get until the Xbox 360 version, when it was finally released on that I decided, you know what, I'm going to be a collecting person, because even in the first sort of 3 or 4 playthroughs. I was like, I'm not really that fussed. I just want to play the game. And then I got to the end of the game. I was like, this is a great game. And then 6 months, whatever later, come back to it and start all over again. So it's not until I matured a bit as a gamer that I'd say I decided, no, they've put this in for a reason. I might as well take advantage of it. So that's a very long-winded way to say no, not the first part of my game through.
Okay.
No. And then did I ever... Well, anyone who's ever played any of the GTA games know that you're basically landlocked in the sense that if you try and stray away from the first island or city, whatever, before you're allowed to in story, you get an instant wanted level. So it makes it borderline impossible, if not extremely difficult to do anything like collecting anything that isn't within the first island. And probably, again, as I matured a bit more as a gamer, I took more risks. It's like, no, I can do this. I know what I can do. It's great. And then just got run over by a tank or whatever. So, or I had a Apache helicopter. I can't remember what they're called in GTA lore. The one that gives you Brown Thunder mission, which is my favourite way to play vigilante missions, by the way. That just get taken out. Boom. So I think that answered the question.
That did answer the question.
In a very long-winded way.
Are you a big fan of GTA series in general? You GTA 5, a big fan of that?
I've not really got that much into GTA Online, and I don't know why.
Yeah,
I just never did. I tried it when it not when it first came out, because obviously there was so much traffic going on that you couldn't get online with it. So it's like, I'm just going to leave it. And then 2 months after online went online, I decided to take the plunge, and I don't think I've gone on it ever since. But I know how much I've missed because I keep getting on Facebook and that all the updates that
every
they brought
month
out,
they get,
and I'm like, oh well, I've missed this really, really great thing. Why haven't I done this? And I just kick myself a little bit and then move on with my life.
Yeah, I mean, I love Rockstar worlds, right? And this is going to segue into my next question. Rockstar build the best worlds from what I've seen, right? Other than the Cyberpunk trailer I've seen recently, that looks like it might match up to a Rockstar world, right? Speaking of Rockstar and awesome worlds, Red Dead 2. Is either of you excited for this title? Have you played the original?
Yes.
I haven't, but I know it. And it's one of those games that you just know, even if you haven't played it.
Yeah, of course, yeah. You haven't played the original. That maybe since it is one of my favorite, if not my favorite game of all time, because I wasn't asked, nobody asked me today. But that would be that and The Last of Us, right? Both games of which I'm getting sequels for very soon, so I'm pretty excited. But I would say, if you have the opportunity, do play the original Red Dead, or just play the sequel that's coming out, I guess.
Just never really.
It's just GTA, but you're a cowboy. You can't pull it any better than that, can you?
Yeah, GTA, but you're a cowboy. It's an awesome game. You like the original,
but I'm so completely indifferent about number 2. Just
really?
Like when the first trailer came out and all of that hype was like, oh, that'd be good, but it's not even come up on my radar of something I'm looking forward to. Well, that's not because I don't want it.
It's kind of a good way to go into games sometimes where you're not that really expecting that much. I mean, I am personally. I've followed every beat that they've announced, because they're not releasing a lot of information about the games. And
that's Rockstar, though, isn't it? That's how
I said this in the office as maybe why God of War got such high reviews this year. God of War is critically acclaimed across the board now. It's the best first party Sony game this generation. It's this generation. And I feel I put that largely down to the fact that they didn't show hardly any gameplay off before, and people were so surprised by how it played and how it looked. And I feel like that went a large contributing factor to how blown away people were. And I feel like Rockstar are doing the same with Red Dead 2, right? They've released so little gameplay. And there's no gameplay, there's just trailers to this point. And it's been released in a matter of weeks, 7 weeks or 6 weeks or something like that. And they've released no gameplay. They've only shown it off to journalists behind the scenes,
Yeah.
and I feel like this is one that Rockstar do get the marketing and promotion so well with the games anyway. I feel like this is just going to be one of those games that people talk about for ages, a bit like GTA 5 and a bit like The Witcher 3 and a bit like, I don't want to hype it up too much. That's just how I feel. Obviously, I'm not saying this is how it will be. This is how I feel it will be, but
yeah, and GTA is akin to Red Dead because obviously they're both Rockstar and
worlds.
When GTA 5 came out, the amount of information and trailers and everything else that they released was so minimal.
Yeah.
Just it built, it's like, oh, something's coming.
Yeah.
But it's like that, okay, maybe next
builds that
time.
anticipation, doesn't it?
It gets you going. Whereas if we attribute it to like movies, you go to the cinema and you get all of those trailers, you've basically seen all the best bits of
Oh
those
yeah, if you see a trailer, you know the plot.
Yeah.
I
Seen the film.
actively avoid trailers
Yeah.
if I'm going to watch it. Because if I know I'm going to watch it, I'll spoil it for myself, and it's just the worst.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just
Which
the worst.
it's the same with video game trailers. Just
Yeah.
you know
That's
what's
true.
going to happen.
Yeah.
Yes, you'll have more because obviously it's an experience where you're part of it. It's not just a linear 2-hour long experience like a movie, but you still see a lot of the goodness.
And Red Dead Redemption 2 being one of those games that there's so much anticipation for anyway. They don't need to hype it up. They don't need to show off too much of the game. People will buy that shit.
And because
They
people
definitely
know
will.
the quality of Rockstar games.
That's it. So let us move on then. We have another question for Lucy. Do you own or have considered purchasing any pretend stroke prop weapons? If so, what? Any pretend weapons?
Are we talking in real life there?
Are you a murderer in your spare time, Lucy? Do you need weapons?
Do I need weapons? Prop weapons.
Prop weapons.
I have it.
Pretend
I
weapons.
don't. I think I have a couple of fake swords, but at the moment I'm actually in the middle of. I have a Tracer from Overwatch costume.
You cosplay as Tracer?
Yep.
You cosplay as Tracer? Awesome. When was the last time you cosplayed? When's your next cosplay event?
The last time I cosplayed, it was when was it? I think it was Wales Comic Con.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember seeing your pictures on Twitter.
Yeah,
There you go.
I went to Wales.
Not that I
Evidence.
stalk you or anything, by the way.
It is my like icon on there, and I met Cara Theobald, the voice of Tracer, in my Tracer costume.
How about that?
So that was really weird and fun, and she was lovely. She was so lovely. I had a photo with her, and then later on, sort of went over to her autograph desk, and there's no one else really there. It must have just missed the rush or something. So I kind of went over and I was like, "Hi, it's me again!" And like, she was so lovely. She was so nice, and she signed it. We had a bit of a chat, so that was really, really nice.
Awesome.
So I'm currently making the Tracer's guns. So I'm giving those a go. They're the first like weapons that I've ever crafted before. But that should be interesting.
Cool.
She's got like a weird bit of armor here, which also acts as her holster. So the gun kind of comes back, like as if, we're going to use the water bottle again, as if like you have the gun, you're like pew, 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 and then she lets go of it and it just kind of slots underneath.
Right,
like
yeah.
that.
A little...
Kind of like, for those who listen, like audibly, it's essentially like snaps down under her arm until she needs it again, and then she kind of flicks her wrists and the guns come back into her hands. So that's going to be really difficult.
Yeah.
I probably won't do that. I'll probably just do the gun. But so I don't own any at the moment, but I'm working towards it.
That's cool. You're heading to EGXs soon. I'm heading to EGX, and that's a place where people cosplay. I'm just throwing.
I've never actually been to EGX.
EGX is
so
really good. It's like the
maybe I should
biggest
go.
thing in the UK, biggest gaming event in the UK, and
Maybe I
it's
should go.
only in Birmingham as well, so it's quite.
Oh, nice. My Tracer hair is so big, I accidentally like almost poked someone in the eye with it because someone asked me for a photo and I was like, yeah, absolutely. But like the spikes are like up here and they are rock hard, like so they don't move at all because obviously I don't want them to move. And I just go to I get a photo with this guy and I just poke his eye out on my spikes. So the picture's like me like, and he's like, oh sweet Jesus.
And he's grimacing, yeah, awesome. All right, let's move on. We've got a question here for the both of you, right? Have you? Let's go with this one. if you could do the podcast with yourself, Gareth, that's me, for those of you who were wondering, and one other YouTuber via video link or in person if you like, and I'll just search out as well.
That's so generous.
Who would that YouTuber be, and what topic would you like to discuss? So you're in a podcast, you, me, and another YouTuber. Which other YouTuber would you have the podcast with? Who would you like to talk to?
I think I know. Do you want a couple more minutes?
Yeah, a couple more.
So I think my answer would be, I think he counts as a YouTuber. He is a member of Polygon, which I know normally splits people's opinions. People normally have a strong opinion of what they think of Polygon.
Yeah.
But particularly their YouTube channel side, their video side, Griffin McElroy, he does Monster Factory. I think he's left Polygon now, but he used to do Monster Factory with his brother. And it's a YouTube series, essentially, where the two of them would go onto character creation systems in games and make a monster. And they're so funny. And they, I think, because Polygon obviously does a lot of serious news and stuff, and does a lot of differing topics with their videos on the channel. It was just kind of like a breath of fresh air. Like, games can just be harmless fun, and here's something that is just harmless fun in video games. And he seems like just such a fun, genuine guy, especially someone who's had a background in game journalism but hasn't really let it sour them or sort of make them cynical, and which I feel like can happen when you're in game journalism for a long time.
Yeah.
You could become very cynical about the whole thing, but he's seemed to have kept up his like upbeat, like positive view of life. All he really seems to intend to want to do is really put stock in like harmless comedy. So comedy that doesn't insult anyone or offend anyone. It's just like harmless, upbeat, light comedy, and he puts a lot of importance in that. So I think that's the kind of topic that I would like to talk to him about if we had him on a podcast, is kind of his experience in game journalism and what you can kind of do when video games is a big part of your life, how you can stop yourself becoming cynical or being dragged down by like toxic communities and stuff, because he he's I think he's been in the industry for a very, very long time.
Sure. Was that Griffin
McElroy. He runs a couple of podcasts. He runs My Brother and Me, which is a comedy podcast he does with his brothers, and he also runs Adventure Zone, which is a D&D podcast, which has recently come out with a graphic novel. Weird. So good. But I think he's just been in the industry. He's always been a face in like a forward-facing journalist, which is tough. So I'd really like to sort of sit him down and talk him through how he keeps himself, how he
keeps himself fresh.
Yeah, keeps himself fresh, keeps himself positive and wanting to wake up in the morning and not, because I imagine he's probably gone through some shit just from like the length of time that he's been in the industry. Yeah. And I would just really like to ask him how he does it. Cool.
That's a very detailed and well thought out answer. Well done.
No pressure, James.
James, anyway, what was your answer?
So I've narrowed it down to 2. So yeah, it's not just one. Obviously, aside from myself and Gaz, Yahtzee from The Escapist, because I find him really funny, and that's literally as far as I got in my head.
That's a good enough.
He's funny, and he likes to swear, and he's angry, and I can't think of anyone else that he reminds me of.
Are you putting on Lucy there?
No, not a Lucy. Not a Lucy.
I don't get angry anymore.
Lucy's not there. But I just like the way The Escapist and Yahtzee's videos are all put together. It's just, I don't know if anyone watching, if you've seen some of their videos, it's basically just voiceover work, yellow background, and basic cartoons, by which I mean it's like drawn, stop motion, drawn. That's it. That's all of it. But it's the way he handles the topics, brings them into a really sarcastic and funny and annoying at times manner, and I really appreciate that. And I don't know whether that says more about my sort of humour or not, but Yahtzee, there's one. Cool. And Adam Wilborn from, I think it's Wilborn. There's so many Adams over at What Culture. The sarky one, the sarcastic one. the one with the blonder hair.
Adam from What Culture.
Well, Adam from What Culture.
Let's do that.
Adam from What Culture. Any What Culture fan is like, oh, but which one? I've just told you which one. Because again, he's quite sarcastic, and I think considering the mass exodus that happened to What Culture last year, he's one of the better ones that are still employed. I always like when I'm one of those people who watching What Culture is like, oh, if it's not Adam Pacitti or whatever, we don't like it, or Blompier or whoever. And just Wilborn for me, he's that, and Ben Potter. If Ben's still doing, Ben Potter is my third choice. Ben Potter.
Great.
There you go. I forgot all about Ben.
Today, man.
Ben Potter. How do you?
You've got 1/3 the amount of questions, but you got 3 answers for each one. It balances out. That's
do you know what? Thank you, guys. You've given me a chance to shine. So
Awesome.
there we go. Yahtzee.
Perfect.
Wilborn, I think, maybe that one, and Ben Potter. And mainly we talk about games. Maybe with Adam talk about wrestling, and then you'll be there in the middle or in the corner, just death stare towards the camera, and just it'll be good.
Sounds
it'll be
like
lovely. A lot of banter could go on, I think, maybe.
Awesome.
And
On that note, we're going to wrap up today's podcast because we are just about out of time, but I would just like to say a huge thank you for you guys for coming in. It's been an absolute pleasure. It's been so much fun talking to you guys today, and I look forward to doing it again next week and the week after. We've got Jake Jones
and
in
Lucy next week.
Jake Jones and Lucy next week. You got any questions for anybody? James will be back the week after, but we will be rotating it in and out. On behalf of myself and everyone listening, they've probably been as much pleasure as I have being sat here across from you guys. Your answers have been awesome. Thanks very much for stepping up. The other thing as well, if any of you guys have got questions, leave them down on the Patreon post and we'll get to your questions. Anything specific for the guys or anything, like I said earlier, industry related, we will go from there. So that's it for today's podcast. Thanks again.
Thanks very much.
Thank you for having us.
You're most welcome, guys. We will see you again in the next podcast. Look out for that. Until then, bye for now.
Bye.
Ciao.